Welcome to Resume Storyteller with Virginia Franco, bringing you interviews with industry experts and regular folks who tested the job search waters and succeeded, and strategies to tell your story and land you job interviews in 60 days, guaranteed. Here's your host, Virginia Franco.
I'm excited to welcome my next guest to the Resume Storyteller, actually my first guest of 2018. Nii Ato Bentsi-Enchill is a senior career advisor and manager of career services at Ivy Exec, which is an online exclusive professional development community that supports top professionals with their career advancement. His early career includes working as an HR analyst at Merrill Lynch and an executive search associate at Isaacson. He undergrad is in psychology from Hamilton College, and then he holds dual masters, one of a Master of Arts and a Master of Education in Counseling Psychology from Teachers College at Columbia University. Well, Nii Ato, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, Happy New Year. I'm really excited to be your first guest of 2018. That's pretty cool. It's an honor and privilege. I appreciate it.
Well, give us an overview of what you do for those that aren't familiar with Ivy Exec and the purpose of the site and all of that.
Okay, sure. I think that a neat way to summarize what I do is that I help people tell better stories about their career. And at Ivy Exec, that means I'm member-facing, speaking to all our newly joined members of Ivy Exec. It's a professional development community, as you already shared, that focuses mainly on mid to senior level executives who are looking to advance their careers and sort of get to that next step. And so what I do on a day-to-day basis is that I speak to our members through a short advisory call, about 20 minutes or so. And during that call, I try and conduct a brief diagnosis and assessment of what's happening in their current job search regarding their goals, regarding their challenges, and any of the issues they're facing as they try and progress, and then provide some on-the-spot analysis and feedback to try and help them troubleshoot anything that they are having difficulty with. And then a core piece of what I actually offer is a resume critique. What I've found is that many of my clients or the members of Ivy Exec are doing really amazing things, but how they present those stories on their resumes doesn't quite match up. So I'm here to help them try and bridge that gap and ensure that the resumes are telling a really compelling story about themselves as they go out there in their job search.
Okay, so very much one-stop shopping, it sounds like.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Well, and how did you, tell me, your background is unique. How did you end up where you are now? How did you come to be in this position?
Sure. I'd say that's one of those happy accidents in a career search. I actually wasn't looking for anything when Ivy Exec came my way. I was actually recruited to Ivy Exec through LinkedIn, so that actually is a thing that happens to people.
Oh.
And I'm definitely evidence that takes place. So prior to working at Ivy Exec, I was actually managing an internship program at a technical college. And on the side, I was actually working under the wing of this really great career coach named Donna Swaden at Career Folk, who has her own private practice. And so one day out of the blue, I got an email about an opportunity to work at Ivy Exec in this career advisor role, in which I would be working with a more senior population in the corporate world. And it seemed like an interesting opportunity at the time. So, without any serious attention, I responded to the outreach and I went through the process. And here I am 4 years later.
Wow. Well, to your point, you're perfect proof that people actually are on LinkedIn looking for talent. So that's very interesting. So so you deal, exclusively with executives in the C-suite. What do you see as one or two major challenges facing that group when they test the job search waters or when they're looking to make a career change?
Sure. Just to take a step back, the population at the exec is a little bit broader than just those in the executive and C-suite level. We actually do work with individuals, let's say at the 5-year plus mark, those who are either about to enter or just coming out of an MBA program on up. And then we actually do speak to students even at the undergrad level as well at some of the top schools who are also partnering with us. So it's actually a very broad range of people I speak to from undergrad all the way to C-suite. But there are definitely commonalities in terms of what they're facing. I'd say the number one issue, doesn't matter what career stage or level I speak to, is about clients not hearing back. There's a lack of response, if you like, from online applications. I'd say that the most popular description of the process is a black hole when it comes to applying online, and many clients feel that way. And it's rare that I speak to someone who feels like they're actually getting good traction in the online process. So I guess in my view, the system feels broken. That's one of the major challenges I see.
Do you have, because I agree with you, and that's what my clients, and I actually steer them away from focusing the majority of their time on applying online and focusing instead on networking. Do you have any advice for helping them to avoid the black hole or have a better response or return on their investment?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you actually asked if, what are one or two challenges that I see people face, and the other actually really is networking. Though people should focus on networking, a lot of people find that their efforts return somewhat void. They send a lot of emails, or they try to connect with people, and people either aren't accepting their connection request or they're not responding to the emails. And so it just feels like a very difficult process, no matter which way you turn. So I do still stick to advice that networking is by and large the best way to go about your job search process. One thing I always remind my clients or our members about is reaching out to your alumni connections, for example. I feel that as people get further away from their degrees, they tend to forget that their alumni networks are a really valuable resource. And simply having that shared connection of going to the same institution, having attended the same institution, can be enough in some cases to have someone at least be willing to entertain your initial outreach and see what they can do to help you, and to offer remind people of that. So that's one method. Another might be, one on LinkedIn. In mail, people don't often read it, especially those who aren't in active job search. And so another idea might be, going onto someone's profile page, looking at their contact information and seeing if they have a personal or work email address listed, and using that contact information instead of the in-mail to try and get access to them. And that might yield a slightly higher response rate.
Okay. So reaching out, and that's a really good point about the alumni networks. Do you have any thoughts before we dive in further about, let me back up. I know that LinkedIn will query connections of interest based on when you went to school. But then some of my older clients don't really want to include the dates of when they went to school because they're worried about age discrimination. So what are your thoughts on alumni networks that go back a little farther?
That's an interesting question. I can understand people being hesitant about putting their graduation dates, on their profile, but having a school listed should still give you access to your alumni network. One way to maybe get around the age, age is an issue, is trying to be a bit more focused on target companies. And so if you look up an individual company through LinkedIn and go to the company's actual LinkedIn profile page, often I believe on the top right-hand side in sort of the first banner, it'll show you if any people from your school actually work at that company or employ the company.
That's right.
And that's
you're
a really
right.
quick
You're
way,
right.
to get access to your alum.
And alumni don't necessarily have to have gone to school at the same time as you. People
exactly. Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Regardless of when they graduated. Okay, that's a really good advice. Thank you. So, and might have already answered this question, but with the members that you work with, are there a couple of things that you find that they're just most surprised by that catch them off guard?
Yeah, I'd say it's still sort of in the same area around the experience of applying online and the fact that people feel like they're the only one who's not getting a response. So 90% of people, they feel, alone. The job search can be kind of an isolating process. And so when I tell them that, hey, about 90% of people I speak to are going through the exact same thing you are, they're like, oh, really? I thought it was just me. So often the feedback that I get, because it feels like it's just you. You see other people maybe in your circle or friend group, getting new jobs, getting phone calls, in their search process, and it feels like it's just you who's not. I mean, sometimes I liken it, to being a parent. I have a 5-year-old daughter, and sometimes I feel like I'm the only parent whose, kid, looks at them defiantly whilst, doing something you were told not to do, or who acts out in public, and throws a tantrum. And when you see other kids doing the same thing and other parents, looking just as crazy as you out there on the street, makes you, gives you comfort. Yeah, you feel much, much better about yourself as a parent, and that it's not just you, whose kid is putting you through the ringer. So it's similar in the job search process. Many people are facing similar challenges, so I want them to draw comfort and encouragement that they're not the only ones, who are facing those challenges, and that's usually surprising for folks.
Well, I know that if you pay for a LinkedIn subscription, then you get access to the Premium Career Group, which is it's a large group, but it is a support group. Are there any other ways that you might recommend to help people to feel a little bit less isolated and a little bit less alone?
Sure. I mean, rather than necessarily pay for a community, because LinkedIn's always finding creative ways to make us pay. I'd say that, people can, try and see if they have, look to your own network, look internally first, and see if there are any other people in your circle, that might also be currently job searching. And that's an instant, crew or posse for you to form and, go through that process together, give them moral support, if they live close by, maybe meeting at a cafe together to, work on your resumes or your networking or what have you. So just having that support group with people that you're close to is a great thing to do. And just generally enlisting, your own small army, of people that you're close to can encourage you. They can bounce ideas off of, long story short, don't job search alone, and it'll be a far better process for you.
That's a really good point. Do you have any other advice? Or let me put it this way. Is there sort of a number one piece of advice that you could give someone who's thinking about making a career move?
Sure.
Maybe making a career change.
Definitely. Might say that when someone is, just looking at your language carefully, thinking about making a career move, one way to turn your thinking into action is to identify and start talking to people who either do what you want to do and or work where you want to work right away. The reason I say this is that, there's only so much you can learn from doing online research. It is important, but it's only a small, piece of the puzzle. I mean, at the end of the day, what's put online is, let's call it the sanitized version of what they want you to know. And so the best way to get a true appreciation of what a company or a job is really like or really about is to talk to insiders. So talk to the director of creative marketing, at a company that you think is doing great work. You can get access and find out really what it means to be director of creative marketing or what have you. And find out what it means to work at, Persado, what it means to work for Facebook, talk to the person and find out truly deeply, what the day-to-day looks like from the inside. And that'll help you to decide better if the career or the company may truly be the match that you're looking for. And then to follow on to, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
And I was simply going to say that, as a result of following that process, it makes you smarter because you're getting, real information about where your destination is, and you can sort of start reverse engineering the process in terms of how you're going to get there from where you are now, as far as networking, realigning your materials, your pitching, positioning, all of that. And so being analog in this digital world is really sort of the best way to go by talking to people.
No, that's a really, getting that unsanitized version, I love that term, is critical to the reverse engineering. And it's my sense, and tell me if you agree or not, that in terms of reaching out to strangers, people are much more willing to be supportive and helpful when you're saying, can you tell me a little bit about what it's like to work with this company or what your role is like? Tell me what your day is like. People are, sort of acting in that mentor capacity. People are much more willing to lend assistance than they are if you ask about opportunities within a company.
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. What I often tell Ivy Exec members to do or to be is to be other-centric, quote unquote. And so really kind of focusing in on what the other's world is about. Can you tell me how you got to where you are? Can you tell me more about your day-to-day, what your company is like? And just kind of having that outlook that's about the other person more so than it's about, you basically. And so by adopting that approach, people are much more willing to engage with you. Great line that I heard somewhere. I wish I could give you the source. It went words to the effect of, if you ask for a job, you'll get advice. But if you ask for advice, you'll get a job. And so that's always sort of stuck out to me.
I love that. What would be sort of maybe the first thing that you would advise a member who is engaged in a job search and really just not having any luck?
Sure. All right. First, I'd start with giving yourself some self-love or self-care. I think that in the job search process, you can really get down on yourself. And you need to first, forgive is too strong a word. I don't want to give it that sense if you did something wrong. That's not the perspective I'm taking at all. But more so that you allow yourself to be okay and sort of be kind to yourself about where you are and challenge your facing. Yeah, give yourself a break. Perfect. That's the first thing. After you give yourself a break, then you want to get down to work in terms of taking a step back and trying to figure out, number one, where in the process you're getting stuck. Because that's going to determine what your next steps are going to be. For some, it's, stuck in the early part of the process in terms of not getting calls for interviews. Some people may be a bit further along to getting interviews, but not progressing as far as they'd like, and so on and so forth. So in other cases, it might not even be you, it might be the market. When I talk to clients in financial services, for example, it's a pretty tough market these days, and it's not for lack of their skills or experience. It's simply an issue of timing and luck, especially in financial services these days. And so that could be it sometimes, and it's really just not you. But if you do determine that the issues are not extraneous, then it's time to go through progression and figure out what can you control versus not control. And so, for example, number one, this might be your materials. Is your resume, your cover letter, your LinkedIn, your verbal pitch, are those things in good order? Are they doing the work that they need to do? Further down, it might be your application process. Are you focusing too much on applying online and not networking enough? And so it's trying to do a step-by-step analysis of where you're getting stuck, and then you know where to intervene and try and make changes there. And it may, be something you can do on your own, or may be wise to invest in, help from a career coach, whether it's Virginia, whether it's Ivy Exec, or, some of the resources you might want to use. Getting some help can be good. People think nothing getting, personal trainer to hit their fitness goals, and how much more a career coach. I used to joke with clients that if you get a career coach, you can afford to get the personal trainer later down the line.
Right. No, but that's a good point, because different actions are dictated when you're stuck in different phases.
Mm-hmm.
Because some people, their documents are spot on, but then they need help with interviewing. Sometimes it's the reverse. So have your pity party, give yourself a break, get to work, do that self-exam.
Exactly.
Great. What words of wisdom might you have for someone who has a lot of different skills, and their role, they're in a crossroads. They could go in one of any number of different directions. I get a lot of people like that. They don't know where to go next.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, at Ivy Exec, I definitely have spoken to a large number of people who might call themselves, general managers or generalists or what have you,
mm-hmm.
and they can do a million things, but they're not sure, what makes sense for them next. I'd say the first thing that I'd ask people to do is it's about personal inventory. Start with yourself is what I always say. To find, let's call it your happy place, when it comes to work.
Yeah.
And, it's great to have a lot of skills, but not everyone who's good at accounting loves it, right?
Right.
And so that's the first thing to think about. And so I advise, two very practical steps. One is to figure out what your own personal Venn diagram looks like in relation to your skills and your work, right? And so with a Venn diagram, one circle would be the skills that the person likes to exercise, and then the other circle is the skills they're really good at. And so the overlap comes where the skill sets, the skills that you are really good at and like to use. And so that's probably the place that they might be happiest in, and that's their starting point. And then from there, I ask people often to do an exercise I bought from one of my coaches. Her name's Dr. Susan Bernstein, where they do their own ideal job description. In this ideal personal job description, they're thinking through, for example, what type of problems they want to solve, what the core responsibilities they'd like to see their new role focus on. Are they managing people? Are they individual contributor? The list really goes on. But think of it as a really intentional exercise where you're writing down all the things that you'd ideally want to see in your next job. And then it could even be, as something as fun or fanciful as what you want to wear, to work each day.
Okay.
Yeah, so the core thing is that there's no criteria by your own, but you're writing down what you want to see. And this will help you to set, let's call it your own internal compass. And then allow you to go out into the world and look for opportunities that are most closely matched what you see as your own ideal job description. And you have a better way to navigate, if you like, as you go through.
And to just know, to the point of the ideal job description, when you put in things like what you want to wear or how you want to get to work, that helps you to define the kind of corporate culture that you want to be in addition to the role you want to be in. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's excellent. I never thought about the Venn diagram. I think when you said Venn diagram, I had a flashback to high school, but I never thought of using it in personal life, but just to help to get your thoughts on paper and visualize your next move.
Yeah, definitely is an idea that sort of came to me on the fly when I was talking to a client who was in this exact situation. He had a lot of different skills and really was super unclear about what he wanted to do next. And then it just turned out, so I vocalized sort of what he'd been thinking that he needed to do. And the Venn diagram sort of analogy came to mind. And it's a great way to visualize, this type of scenario and help you, gain clarity. So he liked it. And so I've been running with it ever since.
Oh, I love that. And if you position yourself as a big generalist, then nobody can figure out how you're a good fit.
Exactly.
And you've got to connect the dots for people because they're not going to take the time to do it for you.
Exactly. Yeah. What I've found with a lot of our members who are generalists, it's just that the market is, whether right or wrong, the market is selecting for specialists right now. And so it's in your best interest to be able to show an employer a more defined or narrower skill set. They know exactly, where to fit you in the organization. And what I tell clients is, sort of use that narrow profile to get in the door. And once you're in the door, you can show them all the other cool stuff you can do, but you got to get in the door first. That's
right, because people think they want specialists, but then in reality, they want generalists. They do.
Yeah.
You just don't get paid for the generalist.
Exactly.
I'd like to talk about age discrimination. We touched on it earlier, but it comes up constantly because I do work with a lot of Gen Xers, baby boomers, people in their late 40s and 50s who are, worried about it. And sometimes it's too young, actually. What are your thoughts on the topic?
Sure. I definitely tend to hear the too old versus too young, but on the too young side, I've spoken to some really, really dynamic individuals whose title, for example, supersedes their age. And so they have difficulty presenting an incredible case to people where, they're ready at a director, level or something like that. And they're, 30 years old, or so, maybe even slightly younger than that. And so they don't have the years experience that warrant that title, but they had the achievements that got them in the first place or, based on where they work, perhaps. And then on the opposite side, you have those who are in their, mid to late 40s on up, who are either starting to suspect or are, 100% dead certain that age discrimination is taking place because they're told they're overqualified or you're too expensive or any other shades, of subtle and overt ways of telling people that they're being discriminated for by age is a big issue. In terms of that, number one, we have to call a spade a spade. It is out there, so we can't pretend that it's not. And so I think people listening should just, I want them to feel validated that this is a thing that's out there, right? And it can be more prevalent based on the industry. But for example, technology, if you're out in Silicon Valley, for example, on the West Coast, most people you're being interviewed by are 35 or under. And so it's real. In terms of trying to combat that, I'd say, you have to use your experience, expertise to your advantage. That is your advantage because you've been doing this for a while. And so it's trying to position yourself as a solution to this particular company's challenges. So one way to think about it is that, you need to tell stories about how you already slayed the current dragons, the target company is facing. You've done this already. You've been there, done that, seen 10 different flavors of what they're going through, and you can more than likely help them resolve what they're going through. So position your expertise as, a critical difference maker and a value add that they can't, get anywhere else in someone who's younger.
No, that's true. And when you talk about slaying the dragons, that's sort of highlighting for the listener their pain point. And when you position yourself as someone who can solve pain, it's much more impactful.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I say do your research and be very, try and be as targeted as you can on the companies you want to work for, especially if you're on the more senior side in your career. And that means you can do more in-depth research, through obviously conversation, networking, trying to get at the inner workings of the company, specifically, put on your consultant hat and try and figure out what their challenges are. And then once you get a good idea of what their challenges are, you can, you may have heard of a pain letter, Virginia, and maybe those listening have heard of that as well. And so this is a very targeted document in which you're trying to specifically identify a pain point the company might be going through that you've researched on, and you tell a quick story about how you're ready to resolve that pain point and request opportunity to chat with, a decision maker about your ability to help them potentially solve this issue. And people want their pain solved, and if you can do that, they're going to be interested in talking to you.
Okay, no, that's wise. Well, you mentioned the pain letter. What other tools, what are one or two tools that a job seeker or a career changer really should not be without during their career journey, during their job search?
Sure. So we now just crossed into 2018. I'd say probably the number one thing that they would need is a really strong, interesting, and authentic LinkedIn profile. When I say authentic, I mean it should, sound like you. It should, we should get a sense of your personality, who you are as a professional, as a person. Through the profile, it should be interesting. I should want to read further in the profile by having a great, career summary, a great tagline under your name. Something's going to drive me to want to read more. And strong simply just in showcasing, what you've done to help others, showing results that'll demonstrate to your audience that you are somebody who can get things done in their environment as well, based on your past experience and success. And then the second thing sort of following from that is just a really compelling story, set of stories about how you help other people. So you should have a collection of pain point stories or pain point resolution stories, if you like. And if you have those two things going for you, LinkedIn will help you get noticed, and your stories will bring people, it will reel them in terms of them seeing you as a great fit for the company.
That's right. Yeah. With regards to the LinkedIn profile, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, but, I get resistance sometimes from people in certain industries, sort of more traditional industries. Financial service is one where they say, well, I shouldn't use my own voice. That's too informal. What are your thoughts on that?
That's a great question.
To me, authenticity sort of spans industries, but not everyone believes that.
Yeah, I can definitely hear that. I definitely do believe that, of all the industries I speak to, financial services might be the most, traditional, resistant to changing, how the candidacy process goes. They're still very rigid with a one-page resume and things like that, and a very factual approach. I'd say that, given that the industry is contracting a lot, I'd encourage those in financial service to think, okay, well, if it's getting hard to get a job, will it still do me good service to do the exact same thing that the industry's been doing all this time as far as, marketing myself as a candidate? When the industry was great and it was easy to get a job, having a plain vanilla resume, a plain vanilla LinkedIn profile may have been fine because there's a lot of opportunities out there. But now as opportunities are shrinking and more technology is coming in to do things that people used to do, how can you help yourself to stand out? And so, given that framework, I'd encourage people to think about, well, maybe showcasing how I'm different, unique, or better might be the way to break through.
Let them hear your voice.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you have the same functional skill set as other people. You should, rightly assume that the other people applying for roles you're interested in are potentially equally qualified for as you from a skill set standpoint. So if you can all carry out the same function, do the same formulas, then how do I judge whether you or this other person better? It might be the fact that you've had some unique experiences, you've been very innovative or taken out initiatives in places. I need to know something, more personal and hear your voice to see if you might be more value add than someone else who's functionally equivalent to you.
Yeah, no, I agree 1,000%. I'd like to switch gears really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the call, I work with a lot of people that are looking to make a change, but they're very scared, and making that leap is huge. And I imagine you do too. I keep hearing more and more, about the idea of a side hustle, having a little thing on the side, to test the waters on a job search. When do you feel like that makes sense, and what guidance can you offer people around how to go about it?
Sure. I can actually use myself as an example to illustrate this. So this is about how I got into career coaching in the first place. So before I joined Ivy Exec, I was, as I stated earlier, managing an internship program at a 2-year technical college. And I had an interest at the time in eventually becoming a career coach for my own private practice. I didn't have the wherewithal to start a practice from scratch. And so I was actually introduced to Donna, once again, a career folk who actually worked under, she took me under her wing. And I was able to take on a small portion of her client load. It allowed me to learn, practice at a low risk to myself, financially speaking, and all of that. And I didn't have to market to get new clients and all of that. I was able to maintain my full-time job and also test the waters of what this work might actually be like. And so it gave me really great practical experience. And having side hustle, to answer the main part of the question, is a great way to see if your passion or an interest can, outside your 9 to 5, can actually turn into a career. And it's great if you don't have all the resources or even knowledge to get started on your own. Having a side hustle is a great way to get access to experience, knowledge, or resources, people you wouldn't have access to if you didn't pursue that path. And then they can help to sort of confirm, whether or not this is the right direction for you. Is it viable to actually become a career for you? Maybe earn some extra cash, on the side, which is what a side hustle is often really about. And then it can be a pathway to something, new or even unexpected. And so to just close out the story, without Don's practice, I'm fairly certain that it's quite possible that without having had that on my LinkedIn profile, I might not have received the outreach email from Ivy Exec that landed me where I am today. And so I'd really encourage people, if they have the ability, to take that side hustle opportunity. It may lead to things, down the road they could never have anticipated.
Well, and that's how I got into resume writing, sort of the same thing. To me, there's really no downside, because if it doesn't work, you haven't lost a lot, except for your time.
Exactly. Yeah.
You really haven't lost money. Yeah, it's a win-win.
I agree with that.
Sharing. So you're at Ivy Exec now. What's next for you?
Sure. I'm actually really excited because I'm going to be taking on an internal transition that actually started yesterday. So once I get back to work next week from vacation, I'll be stepping into a new role. I'm going to be the senior manager of content and career services at Ivy Exec. And so I'll still be overseeing the career services side of the business and managing a couple of people who will be doing the career advisor call that I spoke of at the beginning. I'll be more so focused on the content side. So developing our content strategy for the blog, shaping content for webinars, producing written content. For example, I wrote a LinkedIn toolkit in November and more. And I'm going to be getting to learn a whole bunch of new skills in the digital, arena that I'm really excited about in terms of SEO and things like that. So that's what's next for me. I get to use, I like to write, and this is going to be giving me a chance to write. It's going to give me a chance to be creative. I'm not saying that, doing career advisor is not creative, but creative in a different way. If you like, getting producing things. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. You're going to be great at that. I'm so excited.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm super hyped about it.
Well, Nii Ato, I can't thank you enough for taking time while you're still on vacation doing this. I wish you all the best in your role starting next week. And listeners, if you are interested in Ivy Exec and their services, you can check them out online. It's www.ivyexec.com. And I've also included a link to Nii Ato's LinkedIn profile as well if you would like to reach out to him. But again, thank you so much.
Oh, yeah. Thank you once again, Virginia, for having me. It's been a fun conversation. I hope that people found something useful in all my talking. And I look forward to continue to work with you, Virginia, in the coming year.
Thanks so much. Take care.
All right. Take care. Bye.
You've been listening to Resume Storyteller with Virginia Franco. To learn more about storytelling strategies to catch the eye of today's SCIM online readers, hiring and decision makers, go to www.virginiafrancoresumes.com.